The reading of the Shema has three portions. There's one portion which is the Shema and the basic commandments, phylactery, study the Torah, mezuzah, and then comes a general portion which is basically that people should observe the mitzvahs, otherwise God forbid they can get punished. And then comes a third portion which speaks about the fringes, tzitzis, and leaving Egypt. So the Mishnah in the Talmud, in the tractate of Brochet, asks the question, why does the first portion of Shema come before the second portion? So the answer is because first one needs to take upon themselves the yoke of the kingdom of the king. Then they can ready to accept his commandments. Shema Yisrael is the unanimous commitment, total commitment and devotion, completely dedicated to the king himself. And that is what was needed to accomplish the giving of the Torah. When they said Na'aseh v'nishma, the Jew says, we'll do it and we'll understand it. This is when everything began processing, eventually the giving of the Torah. And this is an introduction not only to the giving of the Torah, this is an introduction to every approach to Torah. That sometimes a person could ask a question, first I want to understand it, and then I'll accept it. The Rebbe says, no, this is not the way the Jewish nation was introduced to Torah. Mm-hmm. You want to study it, you're welcome, more than 1,000%, but that can happen after you accept it. Torah wants you to delve into it. The Jewish nation is considered a smart and wise nation. And they need to understand it. This is the way they will fulfill the commandment of studying the Torah, especially the oral law. But first, it has to be a commitment, a nasa, and then nishma. It's told that there's a story told in the Talmud in Shabbos, the tractate of Shabbos, that a certain heretic met a sage, a great sage, and he saw the person, the sage, learning Torah. His name was Rava, and he said that he was very nervous, that it was his finger was bleeding from nervousness, from a certain feeling, a certain excitement. And he says to him, I want to ask you a question. How could you say that this is a smart nation, that they are, in Aramaic it is, Kadmisu pumaycho ludnaicho. You first spoke with your mouth before you even heard what you're being ordered, commanded. So Rava answered, Tumas Yishorim Tanchem. The sincerity, the innocence of Yishorim, of a simple person, of straight people, honest people, without delving into anything logically, this is what leads their life. And this is basically the concept of the giving of the Torah. The concept of giving of the Torah was basically based on Na'aseh v'nishma. A total commitment. Not only taking upon oneself the yoke of a mitzvah, of a commandment, but basically committing oneself completely to the king. Kabbalah sel malchus shamayim. And this is also connected in regards to Moshe Rabbeinu, having the debate with the angels, as it's mentioned in the tractate of Shabbos, as we mentioned earlier. An answer to another question, that Chassidus asked the question, we don't find it too much in other places. Why is it that the Ten Commandments are all seem to be simple commandments? Don't kill, don't steal, no idolatry, no adultery. These are things that even non-Jews, many nations that are civilized nations, abide by that. So the question is why? If so, why was there such a commotion? What is he? He's giving over things that already, some of them are under 7 Noachide laws. So the answer is because the ultimate goal of Torah is basically to refine the world. And therefore it is dealing with down-to-earth matters. In order to refine the world, so these issues need to be addressed. And when a person is doing these things, he's doing it because it was a commandment from above. And when a person fulfills it because it's a commandment above, a person then draws down a certain sanctity, a certain sacredness in this physical world, and connects the world with spirituality. And this is what was accomplished by the giving of the Torah. The barricade was removed between the higher and lower spheres and connected them together that they became as one. And therefore, as a result of that, when a person today fulfills a commandment, they are drawing down a special sanctity on the physical object with which this mitzvah is done. Not only that, but according to halacha, the code of the Jewish law, when a person designates a certain material for a commandment, it already has a certain status of kedusha, of sacredness. We find it in Hilchas Tefillin, as the tractate, I think, in Menachos speaks about it, about Hazmana. Hazmana milsehu. Hazmana, preparing, is already something. That shows the power, the potential that we have today after giving of the Torah. The same thing is also in regards to Torah itself. Once Torah was given here, the Almighty is waiting to hear what will be issued in the Jewish courthouses, in the Sanhedrin, in the courthouses. When it comes to the Shchedesh, the new moon, the new month, so the Eibishter says, Beyani ve'atem, let's both go down the courthouse in the higher heavens and listen, what did they issue over here? To the extent that even if they made a mistake, it remains like that. If they made a mistake with Rosh Chodesh, afilu shegigin, afilu mezidin, innocent, afilu mezidin, this is final. And when a baskil, when a certain echo came out, when there was a controversy between two great sages, as it's mentioned in the tractate of Bava Metzia 59, that they wanted, baskil came out and took sides, an echo from above came out and took sides, they dismissed it and says, Torah is not in heaven, it's here. And they have nothing to say from there. And this is basically also an explanation on another interesting fact. The beginning of the Ten Commandments begin with Onechi. Onechi, I. Onechi is a word which is Egyptian word, Lashon Mitzri. So the question is, we went out of Egypt and we're coming to Mount Sinai and all of a sudden we're back to Egypt. So the answer is no. The purpose is to take along the Egypt and elevate it. And this is basically what Chassidus teaches us. To take along the Egypt and elevate it, take it out of limitations. In the same sense, like every person has an Egypt in themselves, which is limitation. The word Mitzrayim means limitation, restriction. And a person has to go out of oneself. In the same sense also, Anechi is Dafke in Lashon Mitzri. To take that and also elevate that. Which in reality, factually speaking, that is happening every day in the service of a person. When a person is doing Torah mitzvahs, they are accomplishing a redemption. Does redemption mean forget about the world, destroying the world? It says no. Redemption is basically taking the word goyla, which means exile, and putting in an aleph into it, making it into geula, redemption. Revealing in world redemption, uplifting world to higher standards. The Rebbe once said that there are people that are afraid what will happen with all their business contacts once the redemption comes. What happened with all the nations? What will happen? So the Rebbe says we're just adding more, we're enhancing the world to a higher level. And this is basically, as we started off in regards to the wedding, that a person should not forget the main objective of the wedding is the bond. The bond is the ring that connects them together. The ring that connects us with the Almighty is basically the objective of Torah mitzvahs. There are many revelations along the way, but a person should not forget that the main objective of Torah is basically connecting with the Almighty, becoming His bride and becoming one with Him as a married couple. And this is, and although in the time of exile we don't see it in such a revealed state, but as our prophets tell us, and as it's also mentioned in anthology in Shmois Rabbah, that now it is the time of the engagement, and in the upcoming redemption we will have the ultimate wedding.